Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Great, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, text number 29. Shri Shuka Uvacha Brahma, I guess we could say Brahma Shapa Apadeshena Kalena Amogha Vanchitaha Samhritya Svakulam Spihitam Spihitam Tyakshan Deham Achintayat Shri Shuka Uvacha Brahmashapapadeshena Kalena Mogha Vanchitaha Samhritya Svakulam Spihitam Tyakshandeham Achintayat Shri Shuka Uvacha Brahmashapapadeshena Kalena Mogha Vanchitaha Samhritya Svakulam Spihitam Tyakshandeham Achintayat Shri Shuka Uvacha Brahmashapapadeshena Kalena Mogha Vanchitaha Samhritya Svakulam Spihitam Tyakshandeham Achintayat. Mataji's. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shri Shukadev Goswami said, Brahma Shapa, cursing by the Brahmanas, Apadeshena, on the plea, by such a show, Kalena, by the eternal time, Amogha, unfailing, Vanchitaha, one who so desires, Samhritya, closing. Svakulam, own family. Spitam, excessively numerous. Tyakshan, after giving up. Deham, the universal form. Achintayat, thought to himself. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shukadev Goswami replied, "My dear king, the cursing of the Brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was the supreme desire of the Lord. He wanted to disappear from the face of the earth after dispatching his excessively numerous family members. He thought to himself as follows." Purport. In this verse, the word tyakshan is very significant in relation to Lord Sri Krishna's leaving his body. Since he is the eternal form of existence, knowledge, and bliss, his body and his self are identical. Therefore, how is it possible that he would leave his body and then disappear from the vision of the world? There is a great controversy amongst the non-devotees or Mayavadis about the mysterious disappearance of the Lord, and the doubts of those men with a poor fund of knowledge have been very elaborately cleared by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Krishna Sandarbha. According to Brahma Samhita, the Lord has many forms. According to Brahma Samhita, the Lord has many forms. It is stated therein that the Lord has innumerable forms, and when he appears within the vision of the living entities, as Lord Krishna actually appeared, all such forms amalgamate with him. Besides all these infallible forms, he has his universal form, as manifested before Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here in this verse, the word spitam is also used, which indicates that he left his gigantic universal form, called the Virat Rupa, not his primeval eternal form, because there is hardly any possibility of his changing his form of Satchidananda. This simple understanding is at once realized by devotees of the Lord. But those who are non-devotees, who perform hardly any devotional service to the Lord, either do not understand this simple fact or purposely raise a controversy to defeat the eternity of the transcendental body of the Lord. This is due to the defect called the cheating propensity of the imperfect living entities. By practical experience also, it is seen up to the present day that the Lord's transcendental form is worshipped by devotees in different temples, and all the devotees of the Lord factually realize that the form of the deity in the temple is non-different from the form of the Lord. This inconceivable performance of the internal potency of the Lord is described in Bhagavad Gita 7.25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavratah. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. In the Padma Purana, it is said, Atah Shri Krishna namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyai. The name and form of the Lord cannot be perceived by the material senses, but when he appears within the vision of the mundane people, he assumes the form of the Virat Rupa. This is an additional material exhibition of form and is supported by the logic of a subject and its adjectives. In grammar, when an adjective is taken away from the subject it modifies does not change. Similarly, when the Lord quits his Virat Rupa, his eternal form does not change, although there is no material difference between himself and any one of his innumerable forms. In the 5th canto, it will be shown how the Lord is worshipped in different planets in his different forms even now, and how he is worshipped in different temples of this earth also. Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have very elaborately explained this incident of the Lord's disappearance in their commentaries, quoting various authentic versions of Vedic literatures. We purposely do not include them all here to avoid an increase in the volume of this book. The entire matter is explained in Bhagavad Gita as quoted above. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. He always keeps himself out of the vision of non-devotees who are devoid of love and devotion, and thus he puts them still further away from the Lord. The Lord appeared on the invitation of Brahma, who prayed before the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and therefore, when the Lord appeared, all the forms of Vishnu amalgamated with him, and when the mission was fulfilled, all of them disintegrated from him in the usual course. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vikasa Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prajayine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. There is sufficient material in this verse and purport to give several classes, several seminars. It's not a particularly long purport in the sense that it's like basically 1.5 pages here, but there's so much here to talk about. You could give a whole class on the first sentence. You could give a whole class practically on every sentence. It's a really jam-packed purport and verse. I will try to cover everything. Srila Prabhupada appropriately says Srila Jiva, that he purposely does not include all the commentaries of Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to avoid an increase in the volume of this book. That's, I think, appropriate for, just how much there is in this verse. So, I have until 9 o'clock. I'll try to do what I can. So the first, topic which is addressed is in the first sentence of the verse. Shukadev Goswami says, "My dear king, the cursing of the Brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was the supreme desire of the Lord." From this, you can get a whole... Anyway, from this basically comes everything else in this purport. Of course, it doesn't exactly seem like that. But in the 11th canto, the first chapter of the 11th canto, the curse upon the Yadu dynasty is described, which was the precursor to the disappearance of Krishna. And this purport, Srila Prabhupada says here, where is it? I'm not seeing it now. Anyway, Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, he points out how Krishna dispatched the Yadus, he dispatched his family, his associates, before he himself actually left, and that's significant. We'll talk about that. Firstly, I guess I'll just explain what happened from the 11th canto. At one point, there were some rishis, prominent rishis, not just any rishis, prominent rishis headed by Narada and Vishwamitra. And they had just performed a yajna. Could somebody give me some water from here? This is empty. They had just performed the yajna. And this yajna was for the benefit of Kali Yuga. It was for the benefit of the souls in Kali Yuga to eradicate the sinful effects of the age. After performing this yajna, they came to a holy place called Pindaraka, or Pindaraka sometimes it's said, which is in Gujarat, still there today. It's near Dwarka. So, of course, this place being near Dwarka, some of the Yadus, specifically it said the Yadu Kumars, some of the... Give me 1 second. Some of the young boys of the family, they came to that place with Samba, who is one of Krishna's sons. He came there, or they came there with Samba, and Samba was dressed as a woman. Samba was dressed as a woman, and he had they had fashioned some kind of artificial pregnant, baby bump, as people like to say. And so they went to these rishis with Samba dressed as a woman, and they bowed down to the feet. They grabbed the feet of these rishis and they said, "Oh, great rishis, oh, great brahmanas, this beautiful woman here, this beautiful black-eyed woman," they say, she's pregnant, and could you please tell us, since you're such great personalities, could you please tell us whether it's a boy or a girl? So the sages, were intelligent people. They could understand that they were being mocked. And so they said, that actually, from the womb of this beautiful woman will be born an iron club that eradicates your entire family. And of course, the Yadu Kumars were taken aback a little bit. They were kind of surprised to hear that, and so they lifted up Samba's dress, and they saw that in fact there was an iron club that then fell on the ground. So they became very disturbed. They realized that they had done something really bad. They realized that this was a very bad omen. So they took the club and they went back to Dwarka and they presented it to Ugrasen. And notably, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that they didn't take it to Krishna. They were afraid. They were too embarrassed to take it to Krishna. So they took it to Ugrasen, who was the king, and they presented it to him and told him what happened. And he was, of course, disturbed, as one would be. But he said, anyway, this club is said that this club is predicted to eradicate our whole family. So he took it and he ground it up into small pieces, and there was one small lump of iron left. So there was some shavings, and there was a small lump of iron left. And so they threw it in the ocean. They threw this, whatever remained, they threw these iron filings and this little lump of iron into the ocean. After throwing it into the ocean, a fish came along. Fish ate the iron filings washed up on the shore, and wherever they, washed up, these very sharp canes grew from those iron filings. And then a fish ate the small lump of iron that was left. So eventually a fisherman caught this fish, and Jara, who is a significant character later, most probably know the story, but anyway, he's a significant character later in this pastime. Jara took this, he's a hunter, he took this iron lump and he fashioned an arrowhead out of it, and he put it on one of his arrows, this lump from the iron club. So, just some background to this. This is the curse of the rishis on the Yadu dynasty. That's the basic narration. Some background on this, that not all of the Yadus, it's just Srila Prabhupada describes, and actually not just Srila Prabhupada describes, actually Uddhava describes in the second chapter of the third canto, that not all of the Yadus, although they were in Krishna's family, although they were associates with the Supreme Lord, not all of them were in full knowledge of Krishna. They had some partial knowledge. This is in the, I guess we don't have to bring it up, but anyway, it's in the 8th and 9th verses of the second chapter of the third canto. And don't bring it up, it's not worth it. That Uddhava is speaking to Maitreya? Vidura. Uddhava is speaking to Vidura. Uddhava is speaking to Vidura, and he's telling him that he's angry almost. He's kind of saying, these Yadus, they didn't have full knowledge of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada brings up in the purport that, well, there it is. Okay, the universe with all its planets is most unfortunate, and even more unfortunate are the members of the Yadu dynasty, because they could not identify Lord Hari as the Supreme Personality of Godhead any more than the fish could identify the moon. Srila Prabhupada elaborates on that, the analogy in the purport. Anyway, I guess we could just read that part. Yes, it is learned from the revealed scriptures that the moon was born from the milk ocean. There is a milk ocean in the upper planets, and there Lord Vishnu, who controls the heart of every living being as Paramatma, resides as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Those who do not believe in the existence of the ocean of milk, because they have experience only of the salty water in the ocean, should know that the world is also called the go, which means the cow. The urine of a cow is salty, and according to Ayurvedic medicine, the cow's urine is very effective okay, this is not what we're looking for. Just go down a little bit. Yes, from this ocean of milk the moon was born, but the fish in the milk ocean could not recognize that the moon was not another fish and was different from them. So some of the Yadus, they saw that Krishna was in their family, and they think anyway, we're in this family, it's just a normal family, therefore anybody in this family is just a normal guy. So Krishna's just a normal guy. And Srila Prabhupada also brings up that some of them thought that he was a great personality. Some of them had the idea that he was Paramatma, incarnated into their family. Not any idea that he's Bhagavan, but that he's the indweller. Some of them, of course, were pure devotees, eternal associates of the Lord. But that Srila Prabhupada describes. In the 11th canto, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes that some of the Yadus were even inimical to Krishna. Some of them knew something of Krishna's glories, but they were inimical to him in the sense that they thought that they were as good as him. They were thinking that this great personality has taken birth in our family, or maybe even they were thinking that the Supreme Lord has taken birth in our family. Therefore, we are just as good as him. Some of them were thinking that they were just as good as the Supreme Lord, just as worshipable as the Supreme Lord, on account of being born in the same family as him. Now, Srila Prabhupada brings up in the purport here the commentary of Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So it should be noted that Jiva Goswami in this connection describes that the Yadus actually, none of them were irreligious. So we should understand that being born in the same family as the Lord, these aren't ordinary personalities. These are extraordinary personalities. They're not all of them are absolutely eternal associates of the Lord. Some of them are devatas. Some of them are other very pious living entities. But nevertheless, none of them are ordinary personalities. None of them are just like run of the mill kind of like Joe Schmo kind of jivas. They're seriously pious people in one way or another. So Krishna, by this whole pastime of winding up the Yadus, he's trying to teach, by the example of the Yadus, he's trying to teach the danger of having the wrong conception, of having wrong conceptions about the Supreme Lord and about the Jiva's relationship with the Supreme Lord and about spiritual life in general. One thing to gather from this is that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur brings up that one angle or one perspective on this is that Krishna was trying to teach the dangers of Vaishnava aparad. One of amongst those sages which were mocked by the Yadu Kumars was Narada, who's a pure devotee, Vishvamitra, who's not exactly a devotee, but he's a very great Brahmana and Rishi. I mean, he's a devotee, but he's not exactly on the level of Narada, so to speak, or so is my understanding. So these very great personalities. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur brings up that Krishna, by this pastime, is trying to teach that disrespecting the Brahmanas and disrespecting the Vaishnavas is very dangerous because the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are very dear to Krishna. And in this connection, he